All right, share screen. Welcome to another class in our Tractate Middos. I want to congratulate everyone over here. Congratulate everyone. We are now starting chapter 4 out of 5. Chapter 4 is going to deal with the dimensions of the Heichal, of the actual sanctuary, the actual building. We're peeling the onion layer by layer. We're getting closer and closer to the center of the universe, to the center of the temple. And we are now going to discuss that actual building, which is a tremendous magnitude. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right in to discussing that very structure, starting, of course, with a bit of a diagram. And to give you a little bit of an introduction to what we are discussing now. So we ended off discussing this lobby. All right, you see this lobby over here? This is quite thin and wide, extremely tall. And then we have the next part of the building called the Kodesh, and the inner part of the building called the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is the inner room. Now, something you're going to notice here, very, very should just shout out at you, is do you notice that this room called the Kodesh, see where it says Kodesh over here? This room is just a slice of space compared to the rest of the building. See this inner room here? It's just a slice of space. Very, very, very small compared to the actual major structure of the building. What's going on over here around? What is all this? Is this how thick the walls were? So I want to tell you something. I want to demonstrate to you this what we're going to discuss today, that this building was built in the most fascinating way. We discussed in the past that the Beit HaMikdash had many, many, many rooms. And I just want to say that this Masechta that we're learning now, so many different chambers and stuff, are only the main chambers. Like we're not even scratching the surface really to the magnitude of this compound, of this campus. Hundreds and hundreds of different rooms and offices servicing various functions. Excuse me. So the actual wall of the Heichal was thicker or as thick as the space of the Heichal. And inside the wall, there were various rooms built into the wall. It's kind of like how the wall was built. Another way to say this is there's really 3 walls here. There's the wall of the actual sanctuary, and then there's like this hallway, which is split up into many, 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 many rooms, one after the next. Another wall around them, and then there was a ramp and another wall around that. I'm going to show you how it looks like in a 3D experience momentarily. But just that you should understand that you see this building, which is going to be described in this chapter as 100 amot high from floor to ceiling, 100 amot wide from east to west, 70 amot wide from north to south. But the Heichal itself, the actual room that we're dealing with this bird's eye view, you can see it clearly. The actual room that we're dealing with is only 20 amot wide and 60 amot length in total. 40 for the Kodesh, for the first room, and 20 for the inner room. So out of 100 amot from east to west, if you see my cursor, east, the front of the building, all the way to the back of the building, 100 amot east to west, the actual room is only 60. And you have 70 amot from north to south. See my cursor? The actual room is only 20 out of the 70. What's going on here in the wall? We have many um, chambers, many chambers, 38 chambers in total, spanning the entirety of surrounding the building. And that is kind of like a bird's eye view of what the Kodesh looks like. Inside the Kodesh, of course, you have the menorah, we have the inner Mizbeach, we have the Shulchan, the showbread table, the table with the bread that never got stale. And inside the Holy of Holies, you have the Ark of the Covenant, the Aron HaKodesh. So that's a little bit of an introduction, what you're seeing here. So when we start describing this in the Mishnah, I start showing it to you in the 3D experience, you kind of have a picture, snapshot of what kind of building we're dealing with. So let's get straight into the building. Chapter 4. And we always start off with the door, right? Can't go anywhere without a door. So it says the door, Pischa Shel Heichal, the door of the sanctuary, was 20 amot high and 10 amot wide, uniform to the rest of the temple. All gates, all big doors of the temple were 20 high, 10 wide, except for the ulam, except for the lobby, which we talked about last time, which was double as big. Okay, now a special thing about this gate, which you've seen in some gates in the temple already, that there were four. Before we get to the service doors, I want to tell you about the actual doors to the Heichal, which is unique only to the doors of the Heichal, doors of the again, the Heichal is a sanctuary. By the way, in modern Hebrew also, Heichal means sanctuary. So there were four doors to this entrance. Let's just go back to this. You're going to see this, right? Four doors. You kind of see like a artist rendition over here. You see the doors are so massive. You know what 20 amot high are? 20 amot, it's like a couple stories building, you know. So they were talking about massive doors. You need a whole bunch of kohanim to close them, to open them. But let's look at this mechanism here. So the wall, as we're going to learn in a soon, either today or tomorrow, the actual wall, the actual stone wall, is 6 amot thick. So if an amah is like a foot and a half, so 6 amot thick is it's like 10 feet. All right, 10 feet thick. It's quite thick. Okay, so the entrance is actually it's like 10 feet of walking just to get through the entrance. So the outside of it had double doors, and the inside had double doors. Understand? So this is where you get, like, in many places, especially commercial buildings, they're going to design it that you have like one door and another door right after with a little space in between. That's exactly what the Heichal had. So you had two doors over here. I'm sure you can see two doors over here. This is from a side view, the Heichal, the Kodesh doors, how tall it was. But I want to just point out to you that there was double doors here on the outside, double doors on the inside, and there's going to be right now a major machloket, which is a Talmudic argument of exactly how these doors were stationed. So the first one says like this: there's four doors, two on the outside.
Last night they set up huge fans in her kitchen.
Two doors on the outside and two doors on the inside. Now, this is borrowed. Again, as we stated, this is already a fourth, fifth time that we're seeing this, that the second temple borrows some of its architectural design from the third temple, from the future temple, from Yecheskel. So it says in the verse in Yecheskel, two doors there should be for the Heichal and for the Kodesh. So because it doubles it up, we mean we need two doors on the outside, two doors on the inside. So now here's the first opinion. The first opinion says the outer doors, when you open them, the hinges, they opened inward, and these doors, they covered the thickness of the wall. So if you have the gate, the entrance is 10 amot wide, each door is going to be 5, right? So if the doors open up, right, they're going to cover the thickness of the wall, which is 6 amot. It's gonna have a little bit of a. It's gonna have one. The doors, if they open up all the way, they're gonna fill up the thickness of the wall, pretty much the entirety of it, minus 1 amot. Now the inner doors, they also open up inward. They open up into the actual house, into the actual chamber, into the actual heichal, and the hinges are a 360 hinge. They open up all the way, and they go behind the wall. Let's look at the right over here. You see, these doors, the front doors, they open up and they cover the thickness of the wall. These doors, the inner doors, they open up all the way and they cover behind the wall. One here and one here. Okay. And because the entire heichal is 20 amot wide and the entrance is 10, so what's left of from the entrance all the way to the north wall and from the entrance all the way to the south wall is 5 left, 5 left. So these doors fit exactly behind the wall, each one of them. So that's the first opinion. The second opinion says, Rabbi Yehuda says, no, both doors open up into the thickness of the entrance. So the outer doors swing inward, and the inner doors, they swing outward, and they both end up in this 10-foot space of the actual entrance. Now, the doors will clash, right? You got to have either the doors all opening up outward or all opening up inward, or else they'll clash. I mean, maybe the third temple will have sliding doors, so it'll be fancy. But we're talking about a time, these doors, there are on hinges. Don't they both have to open up either inward or outward? So he says, well, these were special doors. These doors were itzteramita. That's the word. Itzteramita sounds like a Greek word, but they were doors that had hinges in the middle of the doors. They were folding doors. And I don't know if anyone's seen such a thing. In our 3D tour, we only go according to the first opinion. I don't have the second opinion in our 3D tour, so I'm gonna have to describe it to you. Also, I couldn't find a good picture for this, but I'm sure you can imagine it. It's not so hard to imagine. The door itself was a folding door. It folded. So that means the door was as wide as 5, 2.5. That means directly in the center, it had a bunch of hinges. When you opened the door actually folded as you're opening it. So when you open the outside doors, they folded. Right door folds, left door folds neatly against the wall, covering in total now only 2.5 amot of the thickness of the wall. Again, the door is 5 on the right, 5 on the left. If the right one folds into 2.5, it covers 2.5 of the wall. The left one folds into 2.5, covers 2.5 of the wall. The inner doors now, they open up outward. Same exact thing happens. Right door folds, left door folds, and now there's enough of the thickness of the wall to accommodate the outer doors and the inner doors because the doors fold in the middle. And now he says, why is it like this? Why is it like this? Because he learns the verse differently. It says 2 doors and the doors 2. So that means I have 2 doors, but also the doors turn into 2. And the doors had 2 leaves apiece, 2 running leaves, 2 leaves for the one door and 2 leaves for the other door. So that's how he learns out from the verse in Ezekiel and Cheskel that these doors were actual folding doors. Again, according to the first opinion and according to the second opinion, the thickness of the wall is going to be covered completely by the doors themselves, except for 1 amma, because the thickness of the wall was 6. So the doors are going to cover 5 out of the 6. According to the first opinion, the outer doors cover the first 5 amot, and the last amma until you get to the actual room is not covered. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the second opinion, 2.5 amot from the outside and 2.5 amot from the inside are covered by the doors, by these folding doors, and the middle In the middle, you have an amah that is open. Um, um, and the entirety of what's interesting is the entirety of the walls of the Heichal, the entirety of the walls of the sanctuary was gold. Gold. It was gold plated walls. It was gold. There's no wallpaper. It was gold. And except for where the doors end up. So behind that is not gold, it's just stone. When the doors open, the doors themselves are gold, so they complete the gold facade. Our 3D tour over here. All right, guys, let's go. Let's go. All right, okay. So this is the ulam. This is the ulam. Okay, we are in the lobby here. Before us is the opening to the heichal. Step forward, heichal door. Okay, see this door, all right? Everyone sees this is golden door. According to the first opinion, the doors did not fold. They're covering the wall here, most of it. And according to the second opinion, this door would have down the middle some hinges, and the door would actually fold. You have the inner door and the outer door folding. Heichal door is closed. You see this? Outer door, inner door, they're like half closing. That's kind of like the scene over here. They're half closing. Now, the entire Heichal is gold except for behind the doors, you see? Because we're right now inside of the building. This outer door, or this inner door, this is the inner door. This, when it's opening up, it opens up all the way, boom, it covers this entire wall. And the inner door over here opens up all the way, boom, and it covers the inside wall. Again, according to the first opinion. So you have a beautiful visual of what this looks like. Let's continue, because now we're going to discuss some very, very interesting fact over here. Not necessarily in the morning, they don't open up these doors. They don't, that's not the doors they open up to go in. There is a service door on the side. So look at this. Ushnei pish pashim hayuloi l'shar hagadol. So a pish pash is the Talmudic word for like a service door, small service door. Everyone see this? So this is like in the ulam. This is inside of the lobby, and you have a door here to the right and a door to the left. If you look here on the diagram, a door to the right of the main doors and a door to the left of the main doors. The door to the right is the scene you see with the Kohanim right now. The Kohanim are all ready to go for their morning service going into the sanctuary, and this Kohen, he's reaching through that small hatch for the key to open up the sanctuary. It reminds me of Chabad of the Beaches when with our sanctuary, our Moshe, I'm sure you're laughing already. It reminds me of the Aron Kodesh, right? Aron Kodesh. To lock the Aron Kodesh, the key is at the bottom. So you kind of have to have one of the Gebayim is always there at the end of davening on his knees. This is, oh, guess what? Bet Mikdash, same scene. The Kohen's over there. The key is at the bottom. So there's two service doors. So it says the Mishnah, there are two service doors to the main door. One in the north, which is to the right. Again, you're facing west, you're standing in the east facing west. So one is to the north, to the right. One is to the south, to the left. Now, the south door, no one ever entered, ever. It was a door that was closed, that was never, ever used. And why would you have such a door? Again, this is another example where in the second temple, they borrowed from the third temple because there is a verse that says, Yechezkel says in the verse, Hashem said to me, this gate should be closed. A man should not open it, should not go through it, because Hashem, the God of Israel, goes through it, and it should be closed. What does it mean God goes through it? No, we don't know. But the point is that there's a door to the left, to the south, and there's another verse, famous verse, that says that the Shekhinah is in the south. So it's like a door that's like represented like this is not a door for human use. It's just there symbolically. That's to the left. To the north, that's the actual door they use every morning. to actually access the Heichal, to actually access the the to access the sanctuary every day. So how does it work? You take the key and you open up the pishpash. You open up that small door, the small little room over there. And from the pishpash, you go into the ta. And from the ta to the what's the ta? So remember I described to you that we had all these chambers over here inside the wall, right? We're going to learn about it in the next Mishnah, 38 chambers. Each one of them is called a ta. Actually, in modern Hebrew, ta means a locker, like time, like locker. So you can imagine like a locker room, right? This was like a locker room, like on a large scale. The lockers were actually walk-in lockers, like a human could walk through them. That's how big they were, but they were in rows, like lockers. So it makes sense. Same word, right? So it's called a ta. These ta, or in plural ta'im. So for now on, I'm going to say ta or ta'im. Singular, plural of these we're going to call them like these locker. It's not like a locker room. It's like a room locker. Let's put it right. It's a room locker. The whole room is like a locker. So you go in through the door, the pishpash, and from there you go into the first locker, the first ta, and the ta had a door. You can see right this. You see this door going through the thickness of the wall. Had a door to go into the heichal, and then you open the main doors from the inside. That's how it's going to describe to us. So it says like this: he takes the key, he goes into the pishpash, which is the service area, and from there he goes into the ta, and from the ta he goes into the heichal, into the actual sanctuary, and he's able to open it up. Now, what's going to happen? This is going to be very interesting, right? We just threw Rabbi Yehuda, the second opinion of the doors, a double door guy, we threw him under the bus. Why? Because according to this works beautifully, according to the first opinion, which says that the outer doors cover the thickness of the inside of the wall. So how does the Kohen get in every morning? He goes again, as we said, lobby, service door, the first ta, that locker, through the wall into the heichal. According to Rabbi Yehuda, where these doors fold and they cover the thickness of the inside of the entrance, 2.5 amot over here and 2.5 amot over here. And in the middle, there's an amah that's open. According to him, it's a little bit different, the structure. From the lobby, you go in to the pishbesh, into the wall, but you don't go all the way to the ta. You don't go all the way into this chamber, into this locker chamber in order to go into the heichal. No, you go through the thickness of the wall and you end up in between the two doors. And the Kohen in the morning would open up the outer door from the inside, the inner door from the inside of this space over here. Understand? So they have from the first machloket, from the argument of how the doors opened, it actually spills down to now, how did the Kohen actually open the door in the morning through the service door? Just to recap very quickly, according to the first opinion, you went through the service door to this locker area, the ta, and from there into the actual sanctuary. And then once you're in the sanctuary, you open up the inner door, open up, go inside, open up the outer door, right? You open up both doors. According to Rabbi Yehuda, no. From the lobby, you go into this service door, and then there was a path through the wall, through the stone. There was a path. And where you end up in between the two doors, you end up in the middle. You open up the inner door from the outside, you open up the outer door from the inside, and again, according to him, they're folding doors. So you fold them to the wall. So just to end this Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda says you go into the thickness of the wall. He would go through the thickness of the wall until he finds himself in between the two doors. He would open up the outer door from the inside, and he would open up the inner door from the outside. Okay, so I guess we're going to talk about the ta'im. We're going to talk about the lockers tomorrow. And let's just give you that 3D experience, what we're talking about before we sign off today. I apologize, we're a little late over here, but this will just take a minute. So All right, we're in the lobby. This is the main entrance, right? But that's not where he goes through in the morning, right? This is where you go in and out throughout the day. But in the morning, when we're opening it up, these doors are locked. So we go right over here. There's a golden door called the Pishvesh. Let's go inside. Ooh. Oh, kind of dizzying over here because it's a single color, right? We're in the little Pishvesh. We're in this little hallway, service hallway, which takes us to the first hall. All right. Well, this gives us a bit of a visual of imagine if we eliminated the actual center of the Hechal. This is what the lockers look like. We'll get to this tomorrow. That gives you a bit of a visual. But in this ta, let's go to the ta. Access to the ta on top. Access to the next one, the next locker forward. Access to the outside called the Mesiba. We'll learn about that tomorrow. But over here, access to the actual Hechal. Again, according to the first opinion that we're dealing with over here. But look how thick the wall is. This wall of the Hechal is 6 amot thick. It's 10 feet, right? Just the thickness of the wall. So he would go through here, right? Open these doors, boom. Find himself into the Hechal, turn around and open these doors for the service. Right now, inside the chamber. Well, don't worry, we'll learn all about this going forward. A tremendous, tremendous, beautiful day to everyone. We spend so much time, just imagine, spend so much time just discussing the doors of the Heichal. May Hashem open up the doors of redemption, and we should see this building built for the third time speedily in our days.